Former welterweight champion, England's Ted Kid Lewis, challenges France's Georges Carpentier for the world light heavyweight title. Here's Ted Kid Lewis training 10 weeks before his big world championship contest. Ted has decided to take a tune-up fight in 7 days against English heavyweight Tom Gummer. Ted feels it's important to get in against a much heavier opponent in order to properly prepare for the 30-pound weight advantage Georges Carpentier is going to have on him in 10 weeks. At only 146 pounds, Ted is getting in there with a heavyweight, Tom Gummer, who tips the scales at an even 200 pounds. That's a 54-pound weight advantage for Gummer. And here's the fight 1 week later. We pick up the action as Lewis and Gummer are wailing away at each other. That's Ted Kid Lewis in white trunks. Gummer goes down from a hard right. The referee picks up the count. Lewis watches his man. Lewis wailing in once again. Ted Kid Lewis is the hero of English fight fans, as he has shown himself willing to take on anyone, anywhere, as long as there's a ring and 2 pairs of gloves. Ripping punches by Ted Kid Lewis here in round 1. Tom Gummer in black trunks has a tremendous height and weight advantage over Ted Kid Lewis. A leaping left by Lewis, and Gummer goes down again. The referee counting over Tom Gummer. It's all over. Ted Kid Lewis wins by a knockout. A sharp tune-up for his up-and-coming world title fight against Georges Carpentier. Just 2 days later, Ted is right back into training. He knows that Carpentier is going to be the toughest opponent he's ever faced. Ted is a mere 5 feet 5.5 inches tall. And in Carpentier, he is meeting an opponent who is 6 feet, 175 pounds, with crushing knockout power. Ted's feeling about his tremendous disadvantage in size was a quote that he gave the newspapers when he said, "If a man can hit hard enough, he can fight anybody in the world, and I can hit hard enough." A veteran of an amazing 112 professional fights, Lewis stays in top condition by a constant regimen of training and sparring. In the meantime, handsome Georges Carpentier arrives in England, where he smiles warmly for the photographers. George is a great favorite in France and has the charming manner of a movie hero. Francois Descamps, Carpentier's manager, is in London to take over George's training. Bright and early the next morning, Carpentier is working out the kinks in those legs. His early training program is against lesser-known sparring partners, but it's all in fun for movie photographers. Then it's training for real. Carpentier has the utmost respect for Ted Kid Lewis, and in particular, Ted's punching power. It's no secret that every fighting Frenchman that has wandered over to England to fight Ted Kid Lewis has been flattened. Carpentier feels he can change that in 2 weeks when they meet. The 26-year-old Georges has been boxing professionally since 1907, when he was just 13 years old. Yes, 13 years old, fighting professionally and winning. To date, Carpentier has the fabulous record of winning every French boxing title in every division from bantamweight to heavyweight. Georges has won every championship that France has had up for grabs. This old title tells its own story. The night of the fight, May 11th, 1922. The crowd is waiting for the fighters to enter the ring. Lewis is the first to arrive. Ted has got all of England rooting for him, and he's in the finest shape of his life. Ted realizes he's getting in there with one of the great world champions of all time. Making his way now through the crowd is world light heavyweight champion Georges Carpentier. There's a fevered excitement running through the huge crowd. George is an overwhelming betting favorite. But it's Ted who is the sentimental choice here in London. Georges shakes hands with Ted Kid Lewis, and now it's just moments away from fight time. If Lewis can take the world title tonight, it will be one of the greatest upsets of English boxing history. World heavyweight champion Jack Dempsey enters the ring and wishes Carpentier good luck. Jack strodes across the ring to greet Ted and shake his hand. Dempsey, resplendent in tuxedo, is then introduced to the vast audience, and Jack smiles warmly at his reception. The crowd knows that just 8 months ago, Jack knocked out Carpentier in the United States when Georges challenged Jack for the heavyweight title. Finally, it's fight time. The men go to the center of the ring for the last-minute instructions from the referee. The fight is scheduled for 15 rounds, the championship distance. This is one of the most exciting moments of any championship contest. Those few seconds just before the bell for round one. The blow-by-blow description is being sent by radio back to France, which is a new innovation in fight coverage. Millions of Frenchmen are tuning in and hoping for the best. Round one. Ted Kid Lewis comes right out bombing. Lewis, the smaller of the two men, to the right of your screen, throwing punches there on the inside. The referee breaks the two fighters. No hitting on the break, he tells the two men. Lewis to the right of your screen. Lewis working hard on the inside as Carpentier breaks. Lewis ripping those punches in there on the inside. Both men working in close. Carpentier trying to use that great weight advantage. The referee struggling to break the two men. The referee says break clean. A tremendous right by Georges Carpentier. Lewis is down. The referee counting over Ted Kid Lewis. It's all over in slow motion. Let's watch what happened. The referee tries to break the two fighters. Carpentier rips a right uppercut, and a blistering right to the jaw sends Ted Kid Lewis to the canvas. Ted doesn't know where he is. The referee is counting over Ted Kid Lewis. It's all over. A first-round knockout for Georges Carpentier. Lewis doesn't want any help. Carpentier has won by a first-round knockout. It's a gallant try by the great Ted Kid Lewis, but he was in there with one of the hardest punchers the light heavyweight division has ever seen. Most people had forgotten that this same Georges Carpentier had Jack Dempsey staggered and in trouble in the second round of their heavyweight title fight just 8 months ago. Carpentier almost grabbed the heavyweight title when that big right-hand bomb of his landed on Dempsey's jaw. but George was just too big for gallant Ted Kid Lewis. The following morning, Carpentier, on the left, gives a demonstration for the cameramen on how he remembered the knockout that took place the night before. Fighters generally are notoriously poor actors, and Carpentier is no exception. Any resemblance between this demonstration and what actually took place is purely coincidental.